Today's podcast is brought to you by Chikara Wrestle Factory, 4711 Wingate Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where they specialize in lucha libre, puro, European, British, and German styles, mixed martial arts, and American pro wrestling, all built into the curriculum at the Wrestle Factory, where they strive to create the most well-rounded performers active today. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 30 of the Fro Wrestling Podcast. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but we're already hitting the big 3-0. This episode, I want to get this out there before Raw goes live tonight because there was so much that has happened since yesterday and the day before. I want to try to get all the news out to you. We want to talk about New Japan's Honor Rising Night 2, and then crazy things going on in the world of wrestling when it comes to the newest stories that have hit the wire out there. First off, let's go to New Japan Honor Rising Night 2. Jado and Silas Young defeating Dave Finlay and Kushida in the show opener. Again, back and forth action. Dave Finlay, I really feel like this guy has got such a bright future. He's so young, son of Fit Finlay, former WWE standout, who's now a producer and an agent. Kushida, one of the best cruiserweights or light heavyweights in the world. Jado has been around for so long, and Silas Young, a stalwart of Ring of Honor and various other promotions. So good back and forth between these four guys, coming out with Silas Young and Jado picking up the win. Match number 2 saw Bushi, Evil, Sanada, Hiromu Takahashi, and Tetsuya Naito, which Naito is one of my absolute favorite New Japan wrestlers, defeating Dalton Castle, who's been just on an absolute roll lately, Delirious, Jushin Liger, Ryusuyuki Taguchi, and Tiger Mask, which, for anybody who has never seen Dalton Castle, Delirious, these kind of guys in Ring of Honor, if you've never seen Jushin Liger, I mean, you can go all the way back to the 90s. I want to say 1991, I believe, is when Jushin Liger first came to WCW for their Cruiserweight Championship opportunity. But if you've never seen some of these guys, do yourself the favor. Go to YouTube, pull up some of their matches. Even Delirious. Delirious is an absolutely awesome talent. I know for a while there he's been booking for Ring of Honor, but just to see these guys all get into the ring and do their thing it's awesome. War Machine, who this weekend has been just on a tear after beating the Young Bucks yesterday. They defeat the Guerrillas of Destiny today. So they end up knocking off, the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions in one night, and they end up knocking off the IWGP. It's pretty much their marquee team right now. The Guerrillas of Destiny are just tearing it up in New Japan. So when you have War Machine walk in and pick up a win, that sets up some really cool chemistry things for the future for storylines and booking. We'd love to see War Machine have a 3-way with Guerrillas of Destiny and the Young Bucks, maybe here stateside. Representing the Bullet Club, Bad Luck Fale, Hangman Page, and Yujiro Takahashi defeat Hiroshi Tanahashi, who's one of the biggest stars in New Japan Pro Wrestling, Jay Lethal, one of the biggest stars in Ring of Honor, and Juice Robinson, who's really been tearing it up lately and who is really carving out his little niche there in Ring of Honor. Hiroki Goto, the current Never Openweight champion, which for those who don't understand what Never Openweight is, it's pretty much it's anybody can come in and challenge for this championship. There's no weight limit, there's no size limit, nothing like that. This is kind of like just an open thing. It's kind of the way mixed martial arts was when it originally came out, back when you had 300-pound heavy dudes fighting against these skinny little 150-pound nobodies, and you'd be surprised sometimes who comes out on top. Well, Hiroki Goto in this match successfully defended the Never Openweight Championship against Punisher Martinez, who has just been on an absolute tear for Ring of Honor. In what I would consider to be a co-main event, Adam Cole, the Ring of Honor champion, defeated Yoshihashi, who, again, if you're watching on Access Television and seeing New Japan Pro Wrestling, Yoshihashi is a killer talent. I keep emphasizing that because I don't think American wrestling fans really understand that for all the superstars that we have here in World Wrestling Entertainment and in Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor and places like that, there is just as much, if not more, insane talent over in New Japan. They could put on a show every bit as entertaining, every bit as athletic, and every bit as compelling as anything you see on WWE television. So when I emphasize these stars from New Japan Pro Wrestling, I really hope people listen to me when I tell you to go and check out some of their matches, or if you have a TiVo or a DVR or something of that nature, an on-demand service, by all means, set up a I have a TiVo. In my TiVo, I set up a season pass, and I get every episode of New Japan Pro Wrestling, every episode of Ring of Honor, every episode of every wrestling company that you could possibly get on DirecTV. Please do that, so you don't want to miss out on some of the amazing matches that these people put on. The main event of the evening, the Bullet Club, Cody, Kenny Omega, Nick and Matt Jackson defeat Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, and Jay and Mark Briscoe. This is a match that really almost has it was almost like a Survivor Series feel to it. You're looking at 4 just amazingly established stars, and when you look at the way people match up, okay, Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega headlined Wrestle Kingdom 11, so naturally they pair off. Nick and Matt Jackson naturally match up well with Jay and Mark Briscoe, but the interesting one for me here is Cody and Will Ospreay. I would love to see these two get into a one-on-one match. Will Ospreay is one of the most phenomenal talents in all the world of wrestling. I really wish WWE would have put a real push on to sign him during their Cruiserweight Classic period, but with him not coming to WWE, there is such an opportunity there. He and Cody could really probably tear the house down anytime they get in a ring. He's been known to do so with Ricochet, who's another talent that WWE should be pursuing heavily. But either way, this was a really cool show, top to bottom. Between night 1 and night 2, tons of Bullet Club representation, tons of back and forth, just awesome in-ring drama. So congratulations to New Japan Pro Wrestling for putting on an amazing, honor-rising 2-night extravaganza. We're going to shift gears and go to Impact Wrestling. This is some of the most exciting stuff of the day. First off, Matt Hardy yesterday tweets, wonderfully, I will delete the Bucks of Youth on April 1st at Ring of Honor, and all of McMahon's tag teams will follow. Well, what the heck is that supposed to mean? It makes a very clear insinuation that he could potentially be coming to World Wrestling Entertainment. Then a little later, he tweets that it will be an intriguing week for the world of professional wrestling. So, as you would expect, there's got to be more Hardy news, and that's the thing. At last word, the TNA contracts of the Hardys were set to expire this month. Well, that's actually, you can move that up. Their deals are expiring this week. So, with that being said, today it was announced that the Hardys are decided they're not going to re-sign with TNA Wrestling. They felt that the offer that they were given was disrespectful by TNA management. The management had a conversation, they've had a statement released where essentially they felt like they made a significant money offer to the Hardys, one that would have put them at the upper echelon of all the talents on their entire roster, but that the Hardys didn't take it. And what the theory is that creative control over the broken characters may be the center of the issue. Could this lead to the World Wrestling Entertainment? Could this bring the Hardys back to WWE? Is this something where they're going to go to Ring of Honor and perhaps sign an exclusive deal with them? Are they going to hit New Japan and have a lights out match with the Guerrillas of War or whoever, War Machine? There's so many opportunities right now, and the Hardys are some of the hottest commodity in wrestling. With their lack of a no-compete clause built into their current contract, they have no obligation to anyone the minute that they become free agents. They could show up in another promotion as early as next week, and we are right in the middle of WrestleMania season. There are tag team champions on both brands that have no booked matches yet. Can you imagine if the Hardys show up on WWE television with the TNA World Tag Team Championship still over their shoulder? It was rumored that they offered to show up this week to drop the belts, and that has not been negotiated yet. So they are the TNA Tag Team Champions that are going to be out of the company. I would love to see them show up on WWE television with those belts and the ones they've collected from around the world, because they've been collecting championships in various promotions, and show up at WrestleMania for a triple threat match with Doc, Gallows, and Anderson, and go in there and go against American Alpha and really put the killer match on that would blow people's minds. The Raw Tag Team Champions, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Hardys, the TNA, and multiple other company champions in one giant match. Think about the promotion you could put behind that. That's not the only news coming out of TNA. Drew Galloway announced that he's departing from Impact Wrestling as well. His contract recently expired, and he's got so much involvement with Evolve and other promotions that are all part of the WWN family. He's going to be taking his talents elsewhere. The theory right now is he is a focal point of the WWN Championship Series. He's one of the heavy favorites to win that, and that championship will preside over all the different intellectual properties that WWN takes care of. So this is an opportunity for Drew Galloway to really establish his brand going forward. I would love to see him return to WWE and really do something for a change instead of the last time he was there when he was in 3MB. He has taken the time to really develop his character since leaving, and I think that the smart marks out there, the people who really pay attention to podcasts like this and to all the back news and behind the scenes rumors and everything, would be more than willing to welcome him back into the fold. So we got to wait and see how that turns out. WWE news, they've been contacting female talents to fill out their tournament bracket for a women's tournament, much this in the same mold as the Cruiserweight Classic that Triple H alluded to way back late last year, earlier this year. So we'll have to see how that turns out. There are so many female talents out there that are not currently contracted with WWE. It would be interesting to see someone like an Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, those people show up in a WWE ring. With Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley being so heavily involved with WWE, and Bubba's connection with Velvet Sky, makes perfect sense that she might be contacted to come in and do a show. Of course, they have several previous talents that they've contacted for WrestleMania. This all could be leading to something good. In addition, WWE is reporting that Seth Rollins, he will be at Raw tonight. It's unlikely that he's going to compete at WrestleMania for the second year in a row. I completely feel like that is storyline. He's going to come in tonight and he's going to announce he will be at WrestleMania. But the big thing is who's he going to go against? Because the word making the rounds right now is that there's a faction ready to be built, and he may end up going against any one of the members of that faction. We'll get into that in a few moments. Ric Flair is supposed to be at Raw tonight as well. Keep your eye out for the Nature Boy. We're expecting him to further the Women's Championship picture heading into WrestleMania. And speaking of women's champions, Beth Phoenix has been announced as a next inductee into WWE's Hall of Fame 2017 class. She also made it really clear in one of her statements in her interview when she was reacting to the announcement of her being inducted that I believe it was WrestleZone.com that I was reading, where she had the whole famous quote of never say never. And she made reference to what sounded to me like she wants a match potentially with Nia Jax at some point if she decided to come back. So speaking of Triple H and that faction we were talking about, it sounds like Triple H may be creating an evil faction comprised of himself, Samoa Joe, and Kevin Owens, because it has been announced that on March 11th and March 26th that those three will take on Chris Jericho, Sami Zayn, and the returning Finn Balor at house shows leading up to WrestleMania. Well, what is this going to mean for Finn Balor in WrestleMania? What does this mean for Seth Rollins, who's obviously not going to wrestle in these house shows leading up to the big pay-per-view? He'll have some ring rust at Mania if he does go to Mania, and otherwise it's interesting to see where these people are going to land. I mean, Sami Zayn, for example, where's he going to be at the WrestleMania card if he's taking part in this huge storyline here? Where does that strategically place him for WrestleMania? Keep your eyes on that situation as it develops. I'm going to throw out some independent news today. Progress Wrestling's Chapter 44 took place this weekend, seeing James Drake defeat Damon Moser, Dahlia Black defeating Session Moth Martina, Travis Banks defeat Jordan Devlin, Pastor William Ever defeated Sebastian, the now becoming increasingly more and more popular Mark Andrews, or Mandrews from TNA, defeated Shane Strickland, Ligero defeated Nathan Cruz, and Zach Gibson defeated Jake Sexsmith. Killer card top to bottom. If you're not familiar with European or British wrestling, the whole scene, these are some of the biggest names over there, and a lot of them are ones that WWE passed over for their UK tournament, and maybe they missed out because there's some really talented guys on the card. Jimmy Havoc, Flash Morgan Webster, and Mark Haskins were in a match. They defeated Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven in a 6-man tag team match. That was the headline of the pay-per-view, or the show. Havoc pinned Dunne to get a shot at the Progress World Championship, and this match for the World Championship is going to be held at a later time, and it's going to be a death match. So you'll get to see Havoc and Dunne for the Progress Championship. Ought to be an amazing match. You know, I love the fact that WWE is allowing Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven to get involved with huge, really established British wrestlers. Mark Haskins and Jimmy Havoc were out for a little while due to injury, so it'll be really cool to see these WWE contracted talents doing battle with some of the best that Great Britain has to offer. This episode's day in pro wrestling history, 20 years ago, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but 20 years ago, the British Bulldog defeats Owen Hart for the inaugural WWE European Championship. Only 10 years ago, John Cena and Shawn Michaels defeated Rated RKO for the World Tag Team Championship. This was ahead of their match heading into WrestleMania, where John Cena went against Shawn Michaels when there was an issue and Triple H blew out his quad and he couldn't make it to the pay-per-view. Shawn Michaels slipped into that spot. There's a lot of reference to that in the Shawn Michaels DVD, his documentary DVD, if you read that, about how he and John Cena got to headline that show when it was originally supposed to be Triple H. This happened before that to help further the feud, where the two of them win the tag team championship and eventually lose it because of their friction over their WWE championship match at WrestleMania. Yesterday would have been the 91st birthday of a legend in the world of professional wrestling, AWA founder and owner and multi-time world champion Vern Gagne. I know a lot of people give Vern a hard time because he was one of those hard school, hard-nosed, old-fashioned style promoters. He didn't want to change with the times. He had Hulk Hogan and multiple talents under contract before they were as big as they would become, and because he didn't have the foresight to see the change of the guard in wrestling, he ended up missing the boat on what could have been something monumentally huge, and instead his company kind of got old-fashioned. It started to trend downwards, and most of his premier talent left and went elsewhere. So, despite the fact that his company folded up probably before it had to, and despite the fact that he wasn't the best booker when he got into the sports entertainment age of things, nothing can be taken away from the fact that Vern Gagne ran one of the most entertaining promotions in the history of wrestling all the way up through the mid-'80s. Then it got to the late 80s, that's where everything started to go downhill. But he had a good chunk of time where he had some premier talent. The Nick Bockwinkel's, the young Kurt Hennig's, people like that. That's where the birth of the Midnight Rockers, who eventually were Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, all had to go through the AWA. Hulk Hogan, Mean Gene Okerlund, Bobby the Brain Heenan, all these guys who spent a significant amount of time, Jesse the Body Ventura, Adrian Adonis, gosh, the list goes on and on. As I'm talking, more and more names keep popping in my head, Pat Patterson, the Crusher, the Bruiser, the Road Warriors, like everybody went through the AWA, and this is his contributions and all those talents that came through. He was the guy who trained a lot of those people. So Vern Gagne, happy birthday. He would have been 91. 3 years ago, the first NXT special was broadcast from Full Sail University, NXT Arrival. So if you get a chance, if you have the network available from WWE for $9.99 a month, go back in time and watch NXT Arrival if you would like to just get a glimpse of what it was like 3 years ago, the first show, and to see how far they've come now. A few comments from episode 29, the post-WrestleMania Brock Lesnar Championship. If Brock does indeed take the Universal title from Goldberg at WrestleMania, supposing that Goldberg wins it at Fastlane, I've been told that it looks like our biggest contributor has Brock going against Kevin Owens, which I think is a logical progression. The only concern I have there is how fast do you do that, since Kevin Owens is probably going to have to work out his feud with Jericho up until May when Jericho leaves. Then I could see where you could transition to a feud with Brock, but I think there has to be somebody in between there. I did see some rumblings to make a case for Brock Lesnar going against Braun Strowman and actually losing the Universal Championship shortly after WrestleMania, even as early as the night after. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I had asked you guys to tell me about your favorite t-shirt, and the top vote getter was Ty Dillinger's 10 shirt, which I'm cool with that. For me, it's a more contemporary thing. When it comes to those two questions, first off, after WrestleMania, I would have Randy Orton walk out of WrestleMania with the WWE Championship and have Brock and Randy Orton switch places in the draft from SmackDown to Raw. Have Orton drafted to Raw, Brock drafted to SmackDown, because what I really want to see is a match that we didn't get to see last year when we should have after the Royal Rumble. I want to see Brock Lesnar defend the Universal title against Bray Wyatt. So, and by the way, on the shirt thing, my favorite shirt of all time, back in the early 90s, WCW, actually it wasn't early, I want to say about 96-ish, 95, 96-ish, WCW had a signature shirt series. There were 3 shirts. It was Ric Flair, The Giant, and Sting. I bought the Sting shirt. I loved it so much, I wore it out so bad, I ended up going recently and found on eBay another one of it, an authentic shirt, original, the Sting signature series, all black, and all black shirt, white paint to make out Sting. Just awesome shirt. So that was my favorite. Our look back match for this episode is one that a lot of people don't even realize took place. Look up Ravishing Rick Rude versus the Nature Boy Ric Flair, or just look up Rick Rude versus Ric Flair. And this match is from Fall Brawl 1993. Rick Rude and Ric Flair for the International Championship, which is the WCW belt, or the old World Heavyweight Championship belt. And Rick Rude, this is one of the only times you ever get to see him in the ring for a full match with Ric Flair. I think you guys will really enjoy the ending of this match. It's a killer match. Rick Rude, a guy who really lost so early. He should have been around for another 20 years. He really should have, at least. Fantasy booking time. Here we go. It's Hall of Fame season. So here's what we're going to do. A 4-team Hall of Fame tag team tournament. The Road Warriors, the Von Erichs, the Freebirds, and the Rock and Roll Express. 4 of the more contemporary WWE Hall of Fame tag teams. Those 4, you can book them in any configuration you want. Tell me who your finals are and who is your tag team to win the Hall of Fame tag team tournament. Today's YouTube fan poll. Who is the greatest manager of all time? So go down to YouTube, put in your vote for the fantasy booking, and tell me in that same comment who is the greatest manager of all time. I'll definitely give you my feedback for both those questions in the next episode. I can't ask enough. Please, if you get an opportunity, give us a review, give us a subscribe. Your subscriptions make it so this podcast can continue to run to greater and greater heights. I can't tell you how much I appreciate every person who clicks that subscribe button. Don't forget about the Fro Life Planning Contest. For those who don't know what Fro Life Planning is, we help students and adult learners find their new path, either to higher education or to a new career. Every month, I'll be giving away a free 30-minute one-on-one consultation to one lucky winner to aid in the planning of your path to that next step. There's no purchase necessary. Just follow these steps to enter the contest. 1. Launch iTunes in your computer. 2. Go to the Fro Wrestling Podcast iTunes page. 3rd, click on the subscribe button. 4. Click on ratings and reviews. When that happens, it'll pop up with a thing where you can write a review. Click on write a review and give me an honest review. And click submit so I can see what your feedback is about the show. If you love it, let me know about it. If you got issues, tell me what I could be doing better. If there's a way to make it better for you, I'm all on board for that. Finally, go to www.frolifeplanning.com/contest and enter your email address in the link, and you'll be entered for one of those one-on-one phone consultations to help aid you or someone you know who may need it even more in their path to higher education. The winner of this contest each month, your win is completely transferable. If you have somebody in your family who needs assistance planning that path to higher education, by all means, enter the contest every month so we can try to help you out with that. That's all the time we have for this episode, but check back with us with episode 31. We're going to be reviewing everything that happens on Raw. Depending on the timing, potentially we'll hold off for Raw and SmackDown. There's always so much to cover. That's why we wanted to get this episode out before Raw went live tonight. And we'll talk about some of the projections leading into Mania, because it looks like things are about to get really interesting. Special thanks, as always, to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all our music and sound effects used for today's show. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Beazle Games, bringing a new friend to family game night. Game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games and bring some of the fun and excitement back to family game night by going to www.thegamecrafter.com/sketchypeople to pick up your copy today. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade needs. We want to thank you for listening to today's podcast. We encourage you to go to our website at www.frolifeplanning.com to learn more about what Mr. Fro can do for you. Remember, Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro, and I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today, and we look forward to discussing more current events, more rumors, and more news all about Raw, SmackDown, and everything else that's been going on in the world of wrestling in our next episode. Let's keep our eyes on this Hardyz situation. It could be pretty interesting, and Raw should be absolutely stacked tonight. I'm looking forward to the show. Hopefully you guys will catch it too. Until next episode, take care, everybody.